Story 1. Inertia. As we all know, Newton's 18th law of thermodynamics states, a psychopath at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. So far, the outside forces have remained distant from me and haven't acted, so I remain at rest. For now. Story 2. I probably wouldn't like to be murdered or have someone I love murdered, so I think it's best if I don't do it to others. Story 3. Taking a life isn't just taking theirs. You're taking it from everyone they know and love. You should never take a life except in self-defense. Story 4. Non-murders of Reddit. You've asked the right person. I am not a murderer. In fact, I'm not even a crow. What keeps you from murdering? Interesting. Most people would have asked, what keeps you from murdering? But as you're asking the opposite. Nothing keeps me from not murdering, which is why I'm not murdering anyone. Story 5. It is less about prevention and more about waiting for opportunity to arise. I have a high-value wish list. Story 6. Remember in Gone Girl, how you can't just use soap and water to clean things up afterward? So then you'd have to search online for what to actually do. But wait, does the search engine track that or keep a record? Even in private mode? Now you're figuring out the logistics of figuring out the logistics, and you haven't even gotten to the logistics. At this point, you're stressed out and it's a whole situation. Story 7. I am still in the process of compiling my list in case I ever receive a serious diagnosis from a doctor. Then it is time to act. Story 8. Do you mean what prevents you from committing murder? As a person who does not commit murder, nothing prevents me from choosing not to do so. Story 9. If it weren't for the prison situation, I would have harmed hundreds or thousands of people. Every day, I encounter individuals who would be better off dead, such as bullies, rapists, and drug dealers. There are also some public figures who would be on that list. Story 10. Pragmatism or empathy. I would prefer not to be punished for either, nor to feel the emotional weight and impact I have on others. Morality does not exist, but consequences are for the individual to bear, both internally and externally. Story 11. That's a good question, and the answer is nothing. I have been spending all this prime time not engaging in what I should be doing. I wasted my first 5 years of life doing nothing productive and getting older instead of pursuing my goals. I need to rectify this. Story 12. I value my freedom too much to harm someone impulsively. However, if someone breaks into my house, that would be a different situation. Story 13. I am too particular to survive prison. I need a specific kind of mattress to sleep, have dietary restrictions, and I am sensitive to sounds and smells. I require privacy for personal matters. Additionally, I enjoy intimacy too much. What if God exists? He would be very angry with me. Story 14. In general terms, murder refers to the unlawful act of taking someone's life. Most Christians tend to agree that killing is not considered a sin, or at least not a grave one, under specific conditions, such as taking lives in warfare conducted by a legitimate authority, killing in self-defense or to protect others from imminent harm, killing certain types of non-human life, such as insects or animals for sustenance. Story 15. Pragmatism is important. I know I could end up in jail for the rest of my life if I were caught. Honestly, I never had that thought. I would feel sad to kill even someone I hated because their life would be over, and it would certainly be an overreaction. It's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. It would ruin my life. It's literally like harming myself. Story 16. I believe a life sentence is more terrifying than the death penalty. It would have to be in a capital punishment state, and I am realizing that I live in such a state. I need to take care of something quickly. Story 17. The reflection in the mirror makes me question their choices and what it reveals about their character. Story 18. I haven't found anyone I would want to harm. I have vasovagal syncope, and any detailed mention of injury or gore causes me to faint or feel nauseous. The fact that it would land me in jail doesn't help either. Story 19. No one has the right to take a life or to separate a child from their parents, a mother or father from their child, or a partner from their loved one. No one has the right to harm so many people by taking someone away from them. Story 20. If I were to harm someone, it would be in writing, like when I had a terrible and unmotivated boss whom I wished would accidentally get crushed in a trash compactor or a cardboard compactor. Either way, it would be akin to taking out the trash. Story 21. Self-control. I do not own a boat, and my father did not teach me a code regarding how to avoid getting caught. Story 22. Because it is against Christian teaching, just joking, they seem to have no problems with it. As long as they ask for forgiveness afterward, which is automatically granted. How convenient. Story 23. I am so tired all the time. I would much rather spend time with the people I care about when I have the energy, rather than spending time with those I don't care about and burning out. Story 24. While I would like to think I could get away with it, I probably would not. Additionally, I am not motivated. I also do not look good in prison uniforms, whether green, orange, or striped. Story 25. Now that all the non-murderers on Reddit have had their say, murderers of Reddit, what made you do it? Story 26. What if I get caught? I feel I could plan it well with all the true crime series and documentaries I watch, but with my luck, I am not taking the risk. Story 27. Honestly, I would never want to do anything that would upset my parents. When I read stories about people who commit murder, I think those parents are going to face a lot of challenges. Story 28. Mainly self-control. I wonder how long that will work, though I keep encountering too many foolish people. Story 29. It is illegal and I am sane. I heard prison food is not great, and ramen noodles are apparently used as currency inside, along with cigarettes. Story 30. Not a thing. Still not doing it. I believe that keeping harmful individuals alive and torturing them indefinitely is a far more fulfilling strategy. Story 31. My dog. I know that if I were to go to prison for murdering someone, my family would take care of him, but I would miss him. Story 32. A moral compass and genuine love for humanity, along with empathy and emotional intelligence, help you understand and appreciate the various nuances of life. Story 33. The lack of need to see a person who deserves to die suffer for years is more entertaining. Is this not, at some level, why prisons exist? Story 34. I haven't had a reason to yet, and hopefully never do. I am not trying to hurt anyone and do not advocate violence. I have had 2 close encounters, much closer than I would prefer, where I was fully prepared to take drastic action, and likely would have had the situations escalated. Fortunately, both encounters stalled at the point where it was clear that we were one step away from a life-threatening conflict. Both instances involved self-defense, though, so I am not sure if they truly count. Story 35. My cat needs me. I know many difficult people the world would be better off without, but my cat relies on me to feed her. Story 36. I cannot stand the thought of people killing animals for food. I cannot fathom killing another human being. Though many may deserve not to exist, it is not my place to make that happen. Story 37. I love my freedom, and with the exception of people who commit crimes against children, murder, and the act of planning to kill another human being is wrong. Story 38. If I am prevented from committing murder, that makes me a murderer and thus ineligible to answer. If I am a non-murderer, then I am not prevented from committing murder. I am, in fact, prevented from murdering, which also makes me ineligible to answer. Story 39. As someone who has had to lift a deceased body, it is a lot of work, even for the smaller ones. To provide some context, I was the only other male staff member in the hospital, and our morgue was quite inadequate. If you pulled the slab out too far, it would fall, causing the body to tumble. I was asked to pick up a man who weighed about 370 pounds. It was just me and the person who worked in that area. I also had to lift a patient who went completely limp. They weighed only 150 pounds, but that felt like the heaviest 150 pounds I have ever lifted. It was too much work, and I prefer not to be in that environment. I enjoy women and steak too much. Story 40. My belief and faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, along with my strict adherence to the Bible as my guide, is what keeps me from committing acts of violence. It is the source of all morality, and I abide by its teachings. Just kidding. I don't engage in violence because it's fundamentally wrong. I also have empathy for my fellow living beings. Life is precious, and morality comes from respecting it. Story 41. I would not enjoy being harmed. I try not to do things to other people that I would not enjoy having done to myself, unless they explicitly request it. Story 42. Decades of observing foolish criminals fail to escape justice on investigation discovery, along with stories of Nazi executioners who went insane after committing their atrocities. Story 43. I haven't felt the need for a summary. Although I am in my mid-40s, I have found it relatively easy to go through life without causing harm to anyone. Despite encountering difficult individuals, the worst I have interacted with have only annoyed me to the point of wanting to retaliate physically. I suppose this indicates a sheltered life. Story 44. So basically, there are two things. There is a very small number of suitable victims, and the people I consider suitable for that role are very bad individuals who usually die from other causes before I get pushed far enough. Moreover, they can now extract your DNA from any surface, even your skin. All you have to do to deposit the DNA is touch the surface with your bare skin or sneeze. In this day and age, no matter how careful and covered up you are, a sneeze could lead to severe consequences. Therefore, I suppose I will have to settle for watching them ruin their own lives. Story 45. I am not allowed to anymore because my children will be embarrassed of me. I have to be a good, upstanding citizen, which goes completely against my nature. Story 46. The guilt would eat me alive. My mom would never let me live it down. I can't handle that weight on my shoulders. So, yes, I stick to binge watching crime dramas and yelling "rookie mistake" at the screen. Story 47. I came very close to harming someone. Hear me out. My family hired what was supposed to be a live-in nurse/helper. She did nothing but steal from my parents. She always managed to convince my father that it wasn't her fault. It was either me or my brother. One day, my dad sent me a hurtful letter, nothing like he has ever done or said before. He was asking for various items which he had given me to be returned. I knew the nurse was behind it all. She even convinced his church that my brother and I were the troublemakers. Had it not been for the fact that I was the only parent home to take care of my daughter, I was ready to explode. My parents and I have had disagreements before, but not like this. Felt as if we were being disowned. I should add that I'm not a violent person. I was just at the end of my rope. You probably didn't ask for all this. The post brought back painful memories. Story 48. One part of me doesn't want to tarnish my soul. Realistically, it's probably because it's difficult to act without getting caught. There are only one or two individuals I would consider, and frankly, they are individuals who deserve it. As for not harming random people, I don't have the desire to do so. Story 49. I had no desire to do it for pleasure or gain. The one person I would have done it to out of revenge was a neighbor who was making my life miserable. If there were no laws or social constructs, I would have acted before he had the chance to hurt me. Story 50. I'm too laid back. However, I wouldn't rule out a crime of passion if something happened to my children or if I witnessed something heinous occurring right in front of me. But it would definitely be a reaction driven by the heat of the moment. The ethic of reciprocity is strong in me. If given a moment to collect myself, I'll behave rationally. Story 51. My parents' teachings serve as a moral compass, emphasizing the importance of ethical behavior, belief in social order, and a common understanding of right and wrong. Additionally, there is the consideration of consequences, including guilt, shame, incarceration, and the fear that these bring. Or it could be that I have never met anyone I hated enough to consider it. It is certainly one of these. Story 52. He tried to break into my home with my mother inside. Knowing there were two women in the house, he attempted to force his way through the door. When he got in, I stabbed him multiple times with a knife, and he ran away with blood dripping. I would do it again if necessary. Story 53. What is the point? We will all leave our bodies eventually. We have the right to die in our own time. Additionally, we are all here for a reason. Story 54. Murdering another human being for personal satisfaction is not a moral or ethical act, and it does not solve the underlying problems or motives. More significant issues follow, and that is a fact. This crime is not only a problem for the perpetrator, who faces severe consequences, but also for the victim, who had a life, friends, and family. The truth is that taking another human life does not resolve anything. I have never understood how anyone could intentionally kill another person. It is incomprehensibly evil. Those who commit such heinous acts of violence seem to lack conscience, morals, compassion, and empathy, showing no regard or respect for human life. I cannot fathom the thought of murdering anyone. I consider myself a humanitarian and strive to see the good in people whenever possible. I have empathy and compassion and truly value the lives of others and my own. Life is a gift, and I have learned to recognize this through my personal struggles and hardships. Certainly, we all have encountered people who have hardened our feelings or created barriers. I am no exception. I have found peace in my heart and have forgiven those individuals and situations. Story 55. Maybe when I can't afford to live or have a home anymore is the best time to consider extreme actions. However, this would only lead to imprisonment, which provides free accommodation, food, and medical care for life. Story 56. Sometimes I don't know. Luckily, I balance harmful thoughts with a healthy dose of distressing thoughts and would be more likely to reason myself into the distressing thoughts instead, if it reached a genuine crisis. There's a reason I do my best to avoid handling knives around others. Ever since childhood, I have no idea why or where all this came from. Story 57. I would like to not be harmed. I believe that if I do not harm others, they likely feel the same way and will not harm me. Story 58. My conscience would get the better of me. I have killed 2 mice in my life and I still think about them sometimes. Story 59. I ask myself that question most days. The answer is probably that I haven't found someone worth hurting yet. Story 60. There are many people I dislike and feel anger towards because of their actions. I consider myself intelligent, and if I plan something meticulously for 3 months to a year, I could probably avoid consequences. However, I have never harmed anyone. While there may be reasons to act on these feelings, there are even more reasons to refrain from doing so. Story 61. The best way to avoid getting caught for a crime is with a complete stranger. I'm not crazy or angry enough to harm a random person, and probably not enough to harm someone I know. However, I am definitely not smart enough to evade consequences for hurting someone I do know. Story 62. There isn't anyone I want dead, perhaps because I don't think death is a reasonable outcome for my dislike. Maybe no one has upset me enough. Aside from that, the hassle of disposing of a body and worrying about being caught sounds almost as bad as prison. It's a bad call all around. Story 63. It was easier and more enjoyable to keep him in a dog crate in my closet until he became domesticated. Murder is bad. That's all there is to it. Story 64. I would never get away with it. I am way too impulsive for that. Also, I am pretty sure I would not be able to order food delivery in prison. Story 65. The penalty. Whenever I cross state lines where the penalty is less in the new state, the urge increases because I have carefully researched and calculated the risk and benefit of murder. Story 66. Staying away from people who might need to be punished is important. When there is no justice for severe crimes committed, expect some form of violence from others. That angry plumber comes to mind. Story 67. Until now, it's been the common perspective of the people I have met in my life. I have never encountered someone motivated enough to risk his own life trying to bother me. I have had fights and sustained a few broken fingers from punches. I have engaged in verbal disputes and experienced various levels of provocation. However, I have never met anyone who pushed me to the point where I wanted to seriously harm him. But as the saying goes, never say never. I will go out in 10 minutes, and there is a small chance that someone may attempt to rob or assault me. In that case, if he survives, it will not be because I want him to. Story 68. My unwavering faith in the Lord above. You are fortunate that there is a God. Otherwise, I would be engaging in terrible acts. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.